Hey, Zeda, I'm well. How are you?
I'm well. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you really well. Yes. You hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me introduce you to our audience. And it's a long list of accomplishments you have here. So, Zeda Zhang, former WWE superstar, first Asian American female signed with the WWE, along with being the first Asian American to tour Asia for wrestling and the first female wrestler signed to Major League Wrestling. Also fought MMA as a 4-0 in all competition and a former BJJ competitor and 4 times national champion. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? This is awesome.
Also want to make sure to mention Zeda's experience store that's on the SPRTER app, where she's providing experiences to her followers and sporters around the globe, such as personal Zoom calls, getting to know her more, and really able to connect more with her. So we're excited to talk to you and learn more about how it all started. How did you start out with wrestling and being in the show business?
It's crazy. I didn't expect to fall into this, but I watched professional wrestling when I was young. My grandma got me into it, which is funny. She watched it because she didn't know English at the time, and it was the only thing she could understand. So I watched it with her, and then I guess it just influenced me, and also just because I've always been interested in martial arts. So I kind of ended up going that route because at the time I didn't really understand the difference between pro wrestling and amateur wrestling, Olympic wrestling, and martial arts. So I ended up going into the MMA route when I went to college and was in a really unsafe city. Came across some scary situations, which scared me so much that led me into doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specifically. So I started with Jiu-Jitsu as a form of self-defense. Then I got tricked into my first MMA fight. And then I fell in love with it because the thing is, I always enjoyed like the arts, performing arts, drawing, painting, acting, dance, music. And this was a thing that was actually pushing me to do what I love, but at the same time help me conquer my stage fright and insecurities growing up as a child. So because of that, it changed my life for the better, and now it's a huge part of my life. And then after MMA, I had it was just through the MMA circle, this guy that had connections with WWE saw my MMA stuff and ended up contacting me to see if I wanted to try out. And I went through the tryout and got through it, then got signed to WWE, and that started my professional wrestling career.
Wow, that's a great story, as in starting with grandma throwing elbows. I'm making this story, this part of the story up, but that's definitely amazing that grandma was involved with it. Now, transitioning into WWE, it's just stands out. So many accomplishments, being the first Asian American to really do all of these go on tour in Asia and really represent. What does that mean to you, and what experience stands out from that time?
You know, what was crazy was going into WWE, I had no idea all the stuff that was involved because I actually, so, you know, when you're a kid and you watch something. Hi. Sorry, there needs everybody out. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm on set right now. Do we have to get our stuff? Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. I'm getting.
You're right. No stress.
Yeah. I'm on set because also obviously in entertainment, still doing acting stuff. Grab my stuff. But
you know, really like that, as in sometimes that someone was like, you know what are you doing here? But you know what? This is awesome. This is authentic. Like, that's really what this is about. The authenticity of you're on stage, you're on the set. I mean, also really nice background. Where is that?
This is in the middle of Fillmore, California. Oh, thank you. Fillmore,
Ooh,
California.
looks
And
really nice.
yeah, I think we're just moving over there. But anyways, so sorry about that. I figured they would come over here. But anyways, so I got into it. Where were we? Oh yeah, so I got into it thinking, when you're a kid, you're watching something and you think it's one thing, but it ends up being another, especially
Hmm.
when you don't watch all the way through. So I started watching it when I was 3, 4 years old. And at the time, even though I was born in the US, English was not my first language. It
Okay.
was my second language. And because my parents, they were too busy working, and my grandma took care of me, and she only understood Mandarin Chinese. So I grew up only knowing Mandarin at first, and because I was born in the US, they didn't give me ESL classes. So I
Mm.
never got to properly learn English at the time. And because of that, um, I didn't really understand what I was watching. I just knew I enjoyed it. And then when my grandma passed away with Alzheimer's, it was like, it was a big thing in my life because we were very close. So because she passed away, I stopped watching wrestling. And at that time, um, she started getting bad with it, I would say around when I was like 11, 12 years old. So I kind of didn't really watch it around then. And in my mind, I thought that WWE, which was WWF at the time, was basically like a different league because she would watch Olympic wrestling and college wrestling as well as WWF and WCW. And I thought it was a different league. And I thought that the Olympic wrestling and the college wrestling was like the one that didn't really have money. That's why they couldn't afford the pyro and the. We're some cars, so we're going to have everybody push over, okay? Okay, thank you. They couldn't afford all the pyro and stuff like that. And so
It makes
because of that,
sense.
yeah, which is hilarious. And so in my mind, I was thinking that because it's a different league, it has different rules, right? So later I ended up going, when I had the tryout, I found out that it was completely different because training for my tryout, I was still training MMA stuff. And I was basically just cutting out the striking and doing all pure wrestling and grappling. And it wasn't until I got lucky and ended up finding Brian Kendrick's school, which is this wrestler that's known in WWE. I was actually training at my strength and conditioning gym. And when my coach was like, "You have a fight coming up?" I was like, "No, actually I have a tryout." And he goes, "What kind of tryout is it?" I told him it's for WWE. He goes, "Oh, there's a pro wrestling gym down the street, right?" And I was like, "What?" I ended up it was like walking distance. I go over to it, find out it's Brian Kendrick school, and then it is totally different than what I thought it was. So all these years, I had no idea because I went from watching it to not watching it, and then I ended up going straight into jiu-jitsu and MMA. So in my mind, it left off as how I remembered it as a kid. And I was just I didn't know it was, acting and scripted and stuff. But I'm so glad I went this route because it's basically everything that I've always wanted to do combined into one. Because I love the performance, I love the martial arts and the acting, and I get to do all of it in one.
And that's awesome. And it came full circle in the end. And that's really nice in the story. And it makes sense, as in when you say you love acting, you love the sport. Obviously, you're good at all of those, and you showcase it on your social media channels. You have got some really cool, engaging content there. I'd love to do a session where what we call poll booth. And it's basically a quick fire round where I ask you to settle some hot debates and get to know you a little bit better. Beach or city break?
You said what?
Beach or city break?
Beach or city? I prefer the city, actually.
Okay. Burger or pizza?
Burger.
Kick or punch?
Punch.
Early bird or sleep in?
Early bird, sleeping. Definitely sleep in. Although I've been
Okay.
recently.
All right. Cardio or weightlifting?
Weightlifting for sure. I freaking hate cardio so much. I freaking hate it.
Oh, that's awesome. The Rock or John Cena?
The Rock.
And Nikki Bella or Paige?
Paige.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Fair enough.
I think every girl likes chocolate, so.
Can't go wrong. So it's just a quick fire round to get to know you a little bit better, and then just to, bring you a little bit closer to our audience here. Now, when we think about starting being a female wrestler, you inspire a lot of females as well. Not just females, but you inspire a lot of people. You have a really loyal fan base. Now,
Thanks,
when
my
you
dang gang.
now being a role model yourself for many, what type of role models did you have when you grew up, or people that you still aspire to, that you still admire?
Honestly, my dad. My dad is my biggest role model because he came from nothing. He was really broke, poor. He literally came to the U.S. with like the clothes on his back and Chinese English dictionary, and he worked his way up and ended up, opening up a restaurant and several restaurants. And finally, after failing a lot, he became successful enough where he can have a family. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be around. My dad really is a very giving person, and it was him who seeing him work hard is what taught me the importance of hard work. So that's a big influence in my life because I don't think I can do anything if it wasn't for seeing that and having that be a big part of my life, knowing that if you work hard, you can reap the benefits and get what you want to get out of it.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense, and we see that with parents really inspiring their kids, in particular, oftentimes immigrant parents that really have to work hard, that are done amazing role models, and that's awesome. Kudos to that for inspiring you. And we see that with a lot of athletes actually, where they are inspired by the hard work of their parents. Now, any role model, anyone in the field that you feel like, you know what, I really like their style, I'm emulating some of the work that they're doing, or when you grew up or now?
I would say, although I do love The Rock, he's great. But I've never gotten a chance to meet him, unfortunately. But I did get to meet John Cena. And if you want to talk about work ethic, he's another one. Very great work ethic. His schedule is insane. I don't even know how he makes the time. He probably just doesn't sleep. He sleeps like 5 hours or something. But the fact that, he's everywhere. He's like The Rock. But I think they are both probably very similar, but because I haven't met The Rock and have not talked to him, I can't say from experience. But they both have crazy schedules, and they somehow still manage to get everything in because at the end of the day, they realize consistency is key, working hard is key, and that's going to get you where you want to go. And it's also being smart with your time. That's another thing I had to learn because you can work hard also, but you have to be smart and have a direction. So I think it's a combination of, seeing my dad work hard, having a direction. Also, part of it is because my mom helped put him in the right direction as well. And then the martial arts background, when I won my first jiu-jitsu tournament, it really just confirmed it for me because I saw my dad like work hard, but I was so not confident as a child just because I've been bullied most of my life. Growing up, I just had really low self-esteem. But when I saw that I could also do it, it really just solidified it for me. And then meeting John Cena and seeing him and how The Rock, they are successful in this field. It's like I really would like to walk in their footsteps.
And they're obviously amazing role models and great entertainers, public speakers, so all of those things that you need from someone to capture an audience. So I think emulating them is definitely a great role model you have there. Now, you said something that is really difficult. I mean, I believe you, but it's really difficult to imagine someone like you not having a lot of self-esteem and then realizing in, you know, through sport actually gaining that. Can you walk us through that that process?
Yes. So actually, like how I am now is like literally the opposite of how I was before. I look back and I feel like I've lived through 7 lifetimes. And things that I've experienced, it almost seems like it just seems like another life. It almost didn't seem like me, but then I remember all the details of it. It seems surreal. But going through a lot of these, I guess, unfortunate events, it's a matter of how you handle them, right? So bad things happen all the time. And it's a matter of how you handle it to propel you to become better, or you can let it eat you away and you end up really bitter and sad and whatever else, suicidal. Which, you know, I've been through that. Just being bullied growing up. I was not a popular girl growing up. You know, being a girl that's like shy, I didn't know English. So it made me more shy than I already was. And being into art wasn't exactly the cool thing to do. And I did not play sports growing up. So, and also my parents, they weren't rich starting out. I remember us being really poor. And I remember I used to want to draw and we wouldn't even have paper to draw on. And I just remember like getting like some paper from the restaurant, like fax machine, because, or no, it wasn't even that. Was it a fax machine? Was that what, I think whatever. It wasn't like regular paper. It was some type of paper with a bunch of holes in it. So I remember not having paper back in the day, but then as my parents ended up working harder and finally being successful, you know, things got better after. But at that time, you know, it's not like I was able to dress well, and being shy, not into sports and in art, I was an easy target. So I got picked on a lot. One of my earliest memories was in preschool, where I was on the playground and this guy just, I don't know why, he just came up to me, like pushed me, and I fell on a bunch of rocks and ended up like cutting my knee open. And like one of the first memories I've had all the way to like bullied all the way to so finally I started getting confident slowly, bit by bit on my own, because I knew I had, I think it was because of the bullying that developed my social anxiety. I had really bad social anxiety because in my mind, every time I'm around a social situation, it's always something bad. So I guess that developed the anxiety of being around people, which made it really difficult for me also doing performance stuff, because that also translated to performance art, being in front of people, in front of a crowd. But I knew performing is what I've always wanted to do, and I knew that I had an issue that I had to. So slowly, I would think of ways to put myself in uncomfortable situations. Like for example, I I've always loved singing. Singing was my second love. So my first love was drawing, but singing was actually my second thing. So singing was my second love, and I remember there was a sing competition, uh, and it was in my hometown. If you got through the first round, you would be able to be selected to go into American Idol. And at the time, I was like 16. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sign myself up for this, because if I sign myself up, I can't back out. So I forced myself into this situation where I signed myself up for the singing competition. But then, you know, it wasn't like a success story like you see in the movies. I signed up for it, and I even had the lyrics in front of me, and I just froze. I froze, and I was singing the tune, but I was singing it jumbled. It was like I was dyslexic. It was so crazy. Like I couldn't even read the words in order. So I just mumbled through the whole song in front of thousands of people. And it traumatized me so much that I stopped singing for a year and a half. But I ended up getting back on, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to stop something that I love to do just because I'm scared of it. Because before that, I had stopped bike riding because people would make fun of me for how big my calves are. So I stopped bike riding. I'm like, why am I giving up all the stuff that I enjoy just because of what other people think? So eventually, I slowly like get a little bit of confidence throughout the years. I actively try to get over my social anxiety from the age of 12 all the way through until I was 22. So 10 whole years later of actively trying to get over it was the first time I felt that I was comfortable enough to be around people, be in public. Because at this time, when I hit 21, I got asked to model. And I remember the first day during my model orientation, it was just a giant party. I didn't know anyone. And I was just like, you know what? Just just act like you're I told myself just act like you're confident, and maybe then you can get away with it and people will believe you. And that's what I did. And I was also, I guess I was lucky because that day there was this other girl I modeled with. She decided to be friends with me at this giant masquerade orientation party, and she was very outgoing, so I kind of just like followed behind her. She was the one doing all the talking, and I would just like chime in here and there. And after that event, I was just like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Like I think I could like play it off like I'm not shy when really I'm so shy and like freaking out inside. So that was part of the journey. Half of it, I mean, part of it is, you know, all the little bits and all the little successes that's happened throughout my life, even the failures, that's led me to get to that point. And then when I got to the modeling thing, that was another thing that helped. But really, the thing that took it home was that jiu-jitsu competition. When
Mm.
I got into jiu-jitsu and won my first competition, that was when my mind really was set. Like you can do anything you want to put your mind to. And from that day on, my life changed for the better because I finally was able to think in that type of way.
That's awesome. Actually, one of the listeners right now just said, "Fake it till you make it," as well as
It's a
you.
thing. It's true.
It's and it seems like that is part of it, but it seems like you worked really deliberately towards that, which is really commendable. As in, very few people. I was like, "Oh, I'm shy. I don't know," but you actually took action, which is probably also that athlete mindset that we see that helps you with actually being successful in whatever you're doing. So I think that's also part of it. That you taking deliberate action here. Now you mentioned earlier something about having a direction, right? As in, how do I filter out the disturbances, and how do I find my direction as someone who's got a lot going on, and a lot of young people right now obviously they got a lot going on, whether it's trying to be an influencer, wanting to be on social media all the time, having to do school, all of those different aspects. There's particular for attractive women, there's boys left and right and center, people sliding into DMs. Like, how do you filter that out? How almost get that tunnel vision? It's like, here is what I want to do, and I'm going to achieve that.
Well, that is a huge journey within itself. Um, Me finding direction, it actually took me a long time because growing up, I I guess I was always one of those people that knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to be in art. Art was I remember being 2 years old. My dad was drawing. I think I got it from my dad. My dad was drawing, and I remember he was drawing a horse, and I was there like trying to draw a horse also, and it looked like crap. But I remember it looked like a dinosaur with like hair. But I remember drawing this horse, and after I finished drawing it, I remember looking at it and thinking, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I just knew that I wanted to do art since I was 2 years old, since I was really, really young. But the thing is, as I got older, that I knew I still wanted to be in art, but art is such a vast, like vague thing.
Yeah.
There's like so much art. I used to want to just draw. And then I realized there was so much art out there, and I freaking loved it all. And next thing you know, I'm spreading myself thin. I'm like, I want to do martial arts. I want to do like singing, like musical arts, like culinary arts, like all types of art. And then I find myself like just spread so thin and not knowing which direction to take. And I was trying to do everything at the same time, to the point where it actually was detrimental to my health. I actually got so stressed out, and there was a time where I didn't sleep for a month and a half. I only slept 2 hours a night, and out of that month and a half, there was 72 hours I did not sleep, and I would be nonstop on the go all the time. And I ended up stressing my body out so much, I ended up in the emergency room with really bad vertigo. And that's when I realized, okay, I need to slow down and I need to be more focused, because you can't be a, jack of all trades, master of none. So I ended up slowly really doing some soul searching, thinking like, what is it that I need to give up? And the thing is, like, you don't have to 100% give it up. You just need to put like 90% of your energy into this thing, and 10% you can do the other stuff for fun. So, but you have to have a focus. That's what I found was the most important. And I went from like 7 different things, narrowed it down to 5 things, then narrowed down to 3 things, then eventually 2 things. And then finally, when I was down to 2 things, it was enough focus where it got me the opportunity to get noticed, to be able to try out for WWE and get in. And because of that, that ended up being my pure focus. So then now pro wrestling is like, well, it was pro wrestling when I was there was 100% the thing. And now it still is my main thing, but I'm at the point where I feel very lucky that I've been in this industry to a point where I feel like I can branch off and be creative now. I can go back and pick up the things I wanted to do before. Now I have the freedom to, I could do my pro wrestling because I'm lucky where I've gotten a chance in WWE where people know me enough for me to get booked. I don't have to work so hard like I used to try and just get noticed by people. So now I'm able to use this as a living, and I'm working on my long-term goal of entertainment for when my body really breaks down and into the acting world. So this is why I'm on set. But yeah, so because of that, it doesn't mean you have to give up something. It just means you're going to put it on the side and focus on something else until you get good enough for you to be able to pick up something else later. Because when I was in WWE, I was training and his schedule was insane. And I was still trying to train MMA and jiu-jitsu, and it's just impossible. It was impossible. I had to tell myself, okay, I have to give that up. As much as I love jiu-jitsu and martial arts, I knew I couldn't do everything at once. So I gave that up for about a year and a half, 2 years. And then every once in a while I will like go and roll and like spar and stuff. It would be fun. And then I would just come back to it. And it was really nice because it allows me to be able to do what I love to do, but then also use the other times to do the other stuff I love to do. So basically, my whole life is filled with everything that I love to do, some more than others. So I really can't complain about that.
That's awesome. And you described that funnel really well, where it's like, hey, here's all of the things I like. Now funnel it down, get really good at 1 or 2 things, and then branch back out. So I think that's really good advice for everyone wanting to build their personal brand as well, and wanting to, follow their dreams and passion. As you said, all of this is driven by the things you love and by that passion for for your craft and for the art. So that's really nice to hear. Now, I have a few concluding questions. Given your art, given your passion for art, are we going to see a Zeda Zhang hand-drawn NFT soon?
Actually, yes. That's funny you say that, because I am in the process of working with an NFT company right now. So
great. Okay, so that's for now. The second one, given the passion for singing, when are you going to be on American Idol, American Superstar, any of those singing shows, or when are you launching when you're dropping your Spotify album?
So I have a lot of music that's been on hold that I've been doing for a while, and I mean they've been on hold for like years now. So now I got to update them. But luckily, my entrance music is actually my newest song, and I use that for when I come out to the wrestling ring. And eventually, I'm gonna have a music video made, and I'll have it available on Spotify and Apple Music and all that in the near future.
Awesome. We're
right
excited.
When I'm performing. So when you see me performing at the shows, that is my entrance music.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure that we'll follow along with that for sure. Now, I want to make sure that we remind our audience as well of your experience store on the SPRTER app. Make sure to check that out, and all of the amazing experiences you're offering there to the audience, and really getting to know you and getting to connect with you through those personalized experiences. Also, make sure to follow Zeda on any of the social channels, whether it's Instagram, you have an awesome Twitch, you got a YouTube, you have, you're big on TikTok, really engaging and funny as well. So all of those, make sure to follow her along. And thank you so much for giving us a glimpse into your life, a glimpse into your background. And it was really nice connecting with you.
It was really nice talking to you. Everyone, make sure you check me out on the SPRTER app. That's where all my experiences are, meaning you get to go gaming with me, go golfing, we'll go and, have meet and greet, like personal one-on-one questions. I know that's what you guys are about. So get on the SPRTER app and find me on there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for taking the time, and good luck with the career and all. Obviously, right now you're on set. Good luck with the movie.
Yes. I think this is a movie, this one, so.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, and have an awesome day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.